Hello and welcome. This is I Am with Eric Faria. It is my pleasure to have you with us today. I'm your host, and I have Flávia Niemeyer, who is a health coach, with me here today. So, welcome, Flávia.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here.
Oh, my pleasure. So, I just wanted to ask you, first question, how did you get involved with health coaching and healthy foods? How was that journey for you?
Well, it's incredible because since I'm very young, I love to eat healthy. And everything I learned, I would immediately put into my diet, right? So when I first learned that soda was not a good thing to drink, I completely stopped. And then my sister stopped also. So I noticed very young that I could make a difference for people around me.
Right.
So in Brazil, I am a physical education teacher, which already has a lot of nutritional classes, because I always believe that by education, it is through education that people can actually make a difference, and that's what
Sure.
really motivates my life. So the health coach came when I came to the US. I was shocked in how people were eating. Like my generation in Brazil ate like their grandparents' generation did. So the transformation was very short, and the people were eating really bad. And I said, wow, if there is anything I can contribute to in the US, it would be the way people were eating. And then I started to advocate, especially for kids, because I noticed that parents were giving medication to their kids without noticing that what actually they needed was to eat healthy. And kids can like vegetables. It all depends on how the parents, raise them.
Right.
So, and then I went back to Brazil after a couple of years, and I noticed that Brazilians were eating just as bad. It was incredible. It
was
so
imported
fast.
to Brazil.
Exactly.
Okay.
Brazilians love American culture. And when I got back there and I saw like how many overweight people were there, and I was like, wow, maybe I just have to do it everywhere. So now that's why I focus in Brazil and the US.
Okay, so, and what have you learned about yourself in this process?
Oh my gosh. First of all, I'm not even the same person, to be quite honest with you. One thing I learned is that nobody knows what's best for you. Like, you know. The problem is that people right now, they are just not present to what their bodies are communicating with them. And it gets in a point where people are not able to listen to their bodies anymore. And that's why I advocate for a reset. So you actually give your body a period in which you give very good food. And after you do that, people start to discover what is actually good for them. So for me, I discovered that my way of eating, it is good for me, but it cannot be good. It cannot be good for someone else.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So, and
Because
just
everybody
to be
has a different body
exactly.
type. And
Yeah. So people now ask me, are you vegetarian? Because somewhat vegetarian, it is synonym with eating healthy.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And not necessarily. It could be if that's what your body needs. But
I don't think
it's
I
not
could
for
ever.
everyone.
Yeah.
Well, Brazilians, it's very tough
It's
to be
very
vegetarian,
hard to
right?
give
I
up
just say,
meat.
well, I'm
Oh,
Brazilian.
my
We love the
God.
steakhouses. And the meat in Brazil, it's actually better than, the most meatier. So
I would
we grew
agree,
up
yes.
eating a lot of churrascos and
Yes,
barbecues,
yes,
right?
yes, barbecue. Yeah, it's just so delicious. It's so hard to give up. I was just talking to someone. I can eat like white meat, for example, chicken or fish. I love them. But for example, the red meat, I can actually, put it aside for a few weeks, even a month. I can go a month without eating red meat. But for me to give up chicken or fish would be so hard. So I have to,
Yeah,
see
we all
what
have
works
our
best for myself.
preferences,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm not against eating meat, but I'm definitely against eating meat that it's not sustainably raised, So that makes a huge difference.
Sure.
I was in a restaurant yesterday, and I ordered. It was a farm to table restaurant, and I ordered a bacon, and I asked like, how was the pork raised, because that matters to me.
Sure.
And then people in the table were surprised that I was ordering bacon, because somewhat bacon is not healthy food. But I told them, like, listen, if the bacon comes from well-raised pork, it is actually good for you. It all depends of where it comes from, and that's what people are not that concerned about right now.
Right, yeah. So what would you say is the first step for people? So doing the reset and then just figuring out, how can they figure out what works for them and what doesn't work for them?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, there are different protocols that you can follow. I personally love the Whole30 program, which is a 30-day reset that is already designed for you with the rules very well established, and it's black and white. It is what it is, and you follow it 100%. And then within the 30 days, you will discover how your body actually reacts with very healthy food. So, but the first step, I actually think it's even before you start the reset. People miss community. That's what I noticed when I did the Camino de Santiago last year.
Oh, wow. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
In
people
Spain,
love
yeah.
the Camino because there is a lot of community involved. And if you talk to people in the street right now and you ask them, so would you like to be in a diet for 30 days? And they
Nobody
will feel
will say
lonely,
yes, yeah.
right? Yeah, because it's very lonely
It's like, are you
most
crazy?
of the times.
No.
Exactly. So the first thing is to actually find your community, because there are people out there that really want to eat healthy, or even be the one that it's causing your community to eat healthy. That can also occur,
So
right?
be like the leader for other people
Exactly.
who also want to do something and don't know what.
Exactly. Yeah. So obviously, don't be too persistent. That's another thing. You asked me what I learned in this journey.
Right.
It is to appreciate and enjoy people's time, because not
Right.
everyone is in your pace, right?
Yeah, it is
So-
a journey. It's
It
like,
is.
it takes time, yes.
Yeah. And then if you are too forceful, which I used to be, most likely people will not listen to you,
No.
right?
You will turn them off. It's like, no, thank you, I don't want to do it.
Completely.
Yeah.
So be enrolling. That's what I say. Just, bring to them what's possible. And if you didn't find anyone that it is within in your household or your community where you see them, like let's say in your work or in your school, then find your community online. Now we have this ability, like there are a lot of communities that are already created online that you can get support. And then create the structure. Because some people think that it's just about, well, I'm going to eat healthy and that's it. But if you just declare that and you don't have a structure in which you can actually fulfill in what you're creating, you will rely alone on your willpower. And willpower it's a finite source.
Yeah, it's not always there.
It,
Yes.
exactly. So
Yeah.
for the days that it's not there, if you have a structure, that will carry you on until you complete the 30 days.
Right.
So what I say is, once you discover, first of all, with the reset, you let your body heal, right? One of the things that happen in the Whole30 program is that your taste buds, they get cleaned. And people start to really feel the taste of real food. And people get amazed on how, after the program, you don't have to use your willpower to not eat that, junky chocolate. I'm not going to
Sure.
say any brand, but
Sure,
most
sure.
chocolates out there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I love
It's all
chocolate.
sugar. Yeah, I love sugar. I mean, I love sugar too, but I love chocolate more than sugar.
Well, but that's the thing. Once you actually get to discover the taste of things, you don't desire that amount of sugar anymore. Because right now it hurts here when I eat something too sweet. It really hurts. Like I used to love one of my grandma desserts, and I recently went to Brazil and she made it for me.
Right.
And I just tried one spoon of it, and I was like, Mom, is she adding more sugar than what it
It's
was
so
before?
sweet.
And she's
Yeah.
like, well, you changed your taste buds. It's not the same. I actually couldn't eat it. It was, I just had to tell my grandma, oh, Grandma, I need to eat with less sugar next time.
Yeah.
But that's another thing, like the family can be of support. In the beginning, honestly, my family was not very supportive. They were like, Flávia is a little crazy. Why she's not drinking soda, or
Sure.
why she's, so crazy about sugar. I actually had a cousin of mine who one day came to me and she said, if you knew what the FDA actually does for, labeling food, you would not eat anything. And I said, well, I know, and that's why I don't believe in what they label, because you have to go ahead and, research more and see what the sources are of your food.
This is a perfect point to stop. We will be right back with more. I have to ask you a lot more questions. So
Sure.
for everybody watching, just stick with us. We will be back right after this break. And welcome back. My name is Eric Faria, and today I am here with Flávia Niemeyer, and I'm just going to jump right in. So, Flávia, you were talking about the first steps that people need to take to begin this process, right? So, in the break, you mentioned that there are some more steps that you feel people should know about.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about them? Yeah.
Yeah, so just to bring some of the first steps would be to actually find your community, right? And then create a structure and then define the rules. Because once you have the rules about what you're going to eat or not eat, and once again, there are protocols out there that are actually good at defining the rules for you, so you don't have to define your own rules, then you don't have to rely in your willpower to choose what to eat or not to eat at any moment. And then after the reset, once it's complete, then you pay attention in the reintroduction process. When you choose something to eat that you didn't have within those 30 days or whatever amount of time you want to reset your body for, you can actually feel what that specific food gives or brings to your body. That way, you have a choice. But only now you have a choice. That's what I tell people. Most likely walk around without having a choice because they just eat so many foods. They are addictive. They don't know what actually they can eat, right? So that's why I don't tell people do a diet because diets are not sustainable. They actually don't change behavior. They don't change emotional patterns. They only make you probably lose some weight. But then afterwards, what people do, they want to eat and eat because it's not sustainable. So anything that makes you hungry, it's not a good protocol. People cannot be starving. And even intermittent fasting, I've seen people going from junk food to intermittent fasting. That doesn't work. I do believe that intermittent fasting is a very good way of eating once your body is ready for it and actually is asking for it. And that happens after you go through a journey of resetting your body to what actually make you feel good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you were talking about that, and I was thinking because I sometimes don't even know, like, why I'm eating certain foods. And you talked about, how addictive some foods are.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking to myself, I really don't know why I like, X, Y, or Z so much. And I feel like that's one of the things that happens when we are not attentive to what we're eating.
Absolutely.
What we're putting inside our body and how we're just going, from one thing to another during the day because you will just grab a snack sometimes because you don't have time to sit down and have a full meal. And then you don't even realize, oh my God, I just ate something. And I don't even remember what I ate.
Yeah, well, yeah. People don't remember what they eat because they're mindlessly eating.
Right.
And it is incredible that you said that because there are different factors why people eat what they eat.
Right.
First of all, the body really gets addicted to it. So people who love sugar, like most likely
guilty,
they will have
yes.
it right in the morning. And what happens? You remind your brain right in the morning that you love sugar. So if I eat the way people eat in the morning, by 10 o'clock I'm starving.
Wow.
And I've seen kids that are being diagnosed with ADHD.
Yes, yes.
And the parents come to talk to me, and I said, well, to be quite honest with you, if I eat the way he eats in the morning, I would go crazy at school too. Because it's just so much energy. The
Right.
child's body cannot handle that amount of glucose, right? So
it's not the attention, it's not attention deficit disorder,
most
it's
likely
just
not.
sugar.
It is.
Yeah.
It's so much sugar. That's why I'm not against medication, but I just believe that 90% of the medication right now, it's not necessary.
I believe that too, especially for kids.
Yeah, exactly.
We're over-medicating the kids.
I have so many clients that are being able to either decreasing a lot of what they are taking for medication or just quitting altogether. I had a 37-year-old client who had been taking hypertension medication for 7 years, and he, in 5 days of the program, he actually forgot that he was not taking the medication.
Wow.
And the pressure was stabilized. And I told him, well, from now on, just don't take the medication then, especially because he had a lot of knowledge about his own situation. And he was measuring his pressure in the morning and at night, and was normalized without any medication within 5 days.
Wow.
That's how much is incredible, you know?
Yeah.
So you asked me what another thing that people do is to eat because they can't deal with their emotions.
That's true.
And that's
They're
another
eating their
reason.
feelings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why people like what they like. It's because that makes them feel better for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they have
They
to
need
deal
more.
with exactly, and they have to deal with the consequences of that eating, right? So another reason why I'm passionate about food is because people then can have space to deal with their emotions and their self-development. So it's an entry point for a much deeper transformation that's possible.
That is amazing. Yeah, and it just makes me think that really addiction is a disconnection from something, from a feeling that perhaps they're not,
Yeah,
looking at.
absolutely.
So, and also lack of connection. So, okay, we will be right back after this. So for everybody watching, our last segment will be right after this break. So stick with us, we will be back. I messed that up, can I do it again? I will do it again. This is the great thing about taping.
I know, right? And I'll stay in the
same.
same position.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right, all Dina asks is that you include what you were saying right before you...
About the addiction, yes, yeah.
All right.
That's fine. Okay, so I'll look at you. So yeah, so let me gather my thoughts. Hold on. Yes. So basically, it makes me think that addiction is really a lack of connection from themselves and from other people. And that's why we eat so much sometimes of things that we don't even want to.
Yeah, people are numb, Being addicted to sugar, it just allows them to just go through the emotions and not actually feeling their emotions. They become numb to it.
For sure. For everybody watching, we will be right back after this. Stick with us. And we are back. This is I Am with Eric Faria, and I want to go back to my guest, Flavia. So, Flavia, can you tell me how the journey, the health coaching and the food, how it actually led to a bigger journey in your life, spiritually speaking?
Sure. Actually, I love transformation. That is my passion, right? And since I'm very young, I was able to see the potential in people. And it's a gift. So, which in the beginning of my life was very tough, was a blessing and a curse at the same time, because I was forceful and I didn't respect people's time, right? So I got a lot of feedback, especially from my family, especially the people I love the most, because I see what's possible for them, but sometimes they didn't see themselves.
Yeah. And they have their own timing.
Yeah, they have their timing and their path and their choices, right? Because you don't have to learn through trauma or through like difficult situations. You can learn just because you want to learn and you want to develop, right? But
Sure.
a lot of people choose to go through that path. And before, I'm very empathic. That's another thing that I had to deal with very young in life. And I didn't know how to handle emotions because empathic people actually feel the other people's feelings. And my body suffered a lot in my 20s. My back would hurt constantly. I
Wow.
spent a couple $1,000s trying to fix my back, and nobody found anything physical. It was all emotional. So through my own journey, I discovered how to be flexible, for example, and and compassionate, especially towards myself, and to learn how to be here and be of support when people actually want that, or just to be able to enroll them and seeing what they would discover in that conversation rather than telling them what to do, because that's what I love to do, right?
Right. So just getting curious and letting them find for themselves what the answer
Exactly.
would look like. Yes.
Exactly. And then when they're ready, they come and say, well, Flavia, remember you were talking about that thing? Yes, let's discover more about that.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I'm creating a space where I am actually being called to be that kind of person for people. I just recently met someone for 20 minutes in a birthday party, and a couple, like 3 days afterwards, her boyfriend called me. I knew the boyfriend, and he said, Flavia, she needs coaching and she liked you. Can she talk to you for a little bit? I was like, wow, this is amazing. I love being that space for people where
Yeah.
people can come and talk to me and see what they can discover, right?
Sure.
So in my own journey, I went through a lot of different things, like really. Like I learned from the Course in Miracles.
Yes.
Actually,
yeah.
it's one of the most powerful tools I see out there. I learned through the path work. I read a lot of the speeches, right?
The teachings that
The
they had.
teachings, exactly.
Yeah.
I also learned through ayahuasca. I don't know if you
Yes.
ever heard of it.
Yeah.
I have had some ceremonies.
Sure.
And I have actually, recently someone asked me, what are the scientific data in ayahuasca? And I wasn't sure, so I went to research about that. And I was amazed of how much research is being published about ayahuasca and about the effect, especially in trauma. We all have trauma, right?
Yeah.
We are kids. We don't know how things work, how to feel, and then we have a trauma, right? And then we don't know how to handle that. So I just did a lot of things, and I still love to do. So just recently I went through a training that's called the realization process. I've been practicing with Roberta,
Yeah,
my
she was
teacher.
here a
Yeah,
few weeks
I
ago,
I
yes.
love her conversation with you. And I have been doing it for a year, and my husband also has been doing. And one of the most profound things I discovered within the realization process was there are people who live in the matter, right? Like the touch, the physical world.
The physical world, yes.
And that's all they know. And some people live in the energy world, let's say, per se, right? And that was me. Like I'm very empathic, so I would feel people's energy all the time and feel like it was very difficult to navigate with so much energy around. And then there is a stillness that it's deeper than the energy world. And when I tapped into that was when things start to, be easier for me, because I can at any time just go to that stillness and be there, and the world will be happening here. And my client will be talking about, their addiction to sugar, which is the most prominent one. And I'm just there listening, but I'm not absorbing, and I can just be there and say what they need to hear, from a deeper place, not what I think they should do, but what I get from this place of stillness.
Sure, that's fascinating. So would you say that this whole spiritual journey that you went on, that you have been going on for a long time, how has it made you a better human being? Just
Oh,
in
wow.
general, how?
Well, first of all, now the ability of being with people has changed dramatically. Now I'm able to listen to people, not from my perspective or for the things that I think are good for them, but for the things that they are ready or they are looking for. So before I say that I used to listen to people just enough to go in my tool belt and let them know, oh, you should do this, right?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
should exercise more, or you should stop eating sugar,
Right.
or no soda for you, right? But now I can actually have a conversation with people, and sometimes they're not even present to the impact of food in their lives. And at the end of our conversation, they are enrolled in the possibility of eating better, right? So I am capable of going from A to B with them and just being with them. And if they don't choose, that's fine too. There's nothing wrong. It's just accepting people. So being able to accept people, I think, is the biggest transformation of my life.
That's powerful. That's really powerful. Yeah, being present and accepting them as they are, where they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in the process, accept myself. Because that's the beauty of coaching, right?
Yeah.
When you're coaching someone, you are listening to your own voice.
Of course.
And then you are always reminding yourself what you believe in, what you stand for, and what you want to transform in the world.
Yeah, I catch that all the time whenever I'm with a client. Yeah, it's fascinating. You see yourself in their stories.
Exactly.
Yeah. So before we go, my last question for you. The title of the show is I Am. I asked this question of all the guests that I have here. If you had to define yourself, so finish this sentence. I am.
I am transformation. I believe that's why I came to this world in this lifetime. I'm here so people can see how much potential they have and how much they can discover within one lifetime.
That's great. Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed our conversation. I will put the information so people can actually go and contact you and
Sure.
know about the work that you do. So I just want to say thank you. And I really enjoyed it. I hope it was good for you as well.
It was awesome. I'm so proud of you. Like, thank you
you.
for inviting me here. When I first saw that you were filming this, I was like, that's great. I'm sure Eric is doing what he's here to do. And it's awesome to be a part of it.
Oh, thank you so much. So for everybody watching, thank you for being with us. And we will be back next week with a new episode. See you then.